All right, welcome to the technical analysis portion of the weekly meeting. We will discuss the upcoming week and the few opportunities that we have. It is 12/17/2022. Floor is yours, Leslyn.
All righty then. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm getting my screen up 1 second. All right, can everybody see my screen? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this week we only had one actual weekly order block. I know we traded a lot of different JPY pairs, but like I said in my note, I wanted to make sure I just focus on the weekly order blocks in my weekly summary. So this week we had NZD JPY as the order block for the week. There was only one. The pair did as projected. However, there was news this week that affected the market. This pair didn't begin the week with a retracement, which we expect all of the bullish order blocks or vice versa to retrace first. It did not begin the week with a retracement. On the 1 hour time frame, there was a bullish order block Sunday night at 8. The pair continued to buy for around 79 pips. If you waited for a higher time frame confirmation on the direction of the pair, there was a 4 hour bullish order block Monday morning at 9 a.m. From that point, the pair continued to buy for an additional 49 pips. It tapped into the wick and the golden zone of a weekly order block that was a little higher. It tapped into a weekly order block, bearish order block that was close to where price was. It didn't hit the 78, but it did go past the golden zone. That order block was from June of 2015. And from there, it began to sail down 108 pips. If you only look for your guidance from the 4 hour time frame, once it tapped into that weekly order block, it created a bearish order block on the 4 hour time frame. And from that order block, you could have sold it down for 109 pips on the sale of that order block. So that was the only order block for the week. And next week, order blocks, we have a few. I started doing this a few weeks ago and then I kind of lacked off. So I'm trying to get back into it. When I give the weekly bearish and bullish order blocks, if there is a order block that is tapping into that hasn't been violated, I'm trying my best to make a note of that going forward. So those won't have a color. They'll just be no color with an asterisk beside it, and it'll show you what I'm seeing. So AUD CAD, AU, and NU are bearish order blocks. Euro Chev, EU and GA are bullish order blocks. EA and EN, for EA, there's a bullish, it's bullish this week, but it tapped into a bearish order block from 2/7/2022. So that could be potentially selling. And if I'm not mistaken, it may be around the 78. So this may be a sale. EN, it's also a bullish order block. And it tapped into a bearish order block from 11/4/22. I didn't measure that one in time to say where it tapped into on that order block. So that's what I have for this week.
I have a quick question, Selena. You
Yes,
explained
ma'am.
it, but I missed it. You said
No, you're fine.
the red is bearish, the green is bullish. What was the white again? You said you weren't going to use colors for something.
Because a few weeks back when I initially started doing this, we just said, okay, we see a bearish order block, we see a bullish order block. but I didn't take into account if it was next to a previous order block that hadn't been violated. And some of us took the signal off of, say, oh, it's bearish, it's going to sell. But in all actuality, it bought instead because of an order block to the left or to the right that wasn't violated. So once I'm looking at these weekly order blocks, I'm trying to make sure I get an idea of what the entire pair is doing, not just that week. So if I don't color it in, I just want everyone to be aware, if if you're using this as your guide for the week, to look around, and these two pairs had these two bullish weekly order blocks had bearish order blocks from a previous time frame that they're tapping into. So it looks like it just tapped into that order block to now sail down. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? Okay. That's all I got for you.
Gracias, folks. And thank you, Selena.
You're welcome.
So, I guess it just really depends on how long you've been part of this group. I'm going to go to EA here. So all Selena is saying you look at EA, this is a bullish order block, but it's tapping in, right? It's tapping in to another order block that's already up here, right? If you started with me a while back, where I used to show you how to frame the market, where you would go and you would mark your higher time frame order blocks. As you can see, we're in the monthly order block, right? We drop down to the weekly. There's a weekly order block in the same area. So if we're in a habit of framing the market before you take trades, you'll understand that this is top of the market. So either price is going to break through the top of the market, or it slams into the top and it pushes down, right? All of us will have our own bias, based off of what we see here. All this does, basically gives us an idea of what we're looking at, So last week, I thought this would push down, right? We did a stop run on the weekly, and I thought it would push down. It didn't, right? It pushed up. Now, in my little trading experience, whenever I see an order block before the old order blocks, it gives me the vibes that we're going to push on through. So if I had to take a guess, I am definitely biased for the eventual push through of this order block. But until then, it's a bias. So until we see what we need to see, we have to look at what's possible, right? If you measure this move from August, market pushes all the way down. Now it's coming up to the 78.6. I wouldn't be surprised if it taps the 78.6, pushes back down, right? At some point, it'll push us back down to tap into this order block before we catapult through here. That would be probably my thoughts on what would happen, right? Even if it happens somewhere before the 78.6, I would look for this month to end in a bullish order block, then a tap in to go higher. That's what I think, that's what I think I see at this point. Again, these are very, this is a very high time frame analysis, but it gives you, I guess, a better insight on what we might be seeing here at this weekly level. At any rate, what I expect to happen this week, if we measure the move after the retracement last week, we get a push up of about 436 pips. So if you had traded this pair to the upside after that news, you'd still be grinning. You still have euphoria, right? So after it travels this far, I do expect for it to push down into the discounted area. I think it can push down into this yellow area. And if that's the case, I mean, it already started a decent amount of retracement last week. But if it pushes down to the 50%, that's another 134 pips. Most of us can make what we need to make in that move, right? Everybody tracking, everybody see how and the why behind that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is definitely one that I'm looking to trade tomorrow. It has enough range to feed me. All right.
Wait, Todd, on your EA trade, your golden zone that you're trying to trade it back down to is based off the monthly? Or did you still highlight did you highlight both the weekly golden zone and the monthly golden zone? And is that what the
that's a good question, King. There is no monthly golden zone at this point because we're in the middle of the month.
No, I thought you had it marked up from last month. I guess I was mistaken. I made a bad assumption.
No, yeah, this red candle is last month.
Right. So is this
Green
yellow area not the golden zone for that red candle?
No.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. The golden zone is based off of this weekly move we got last week.
I got you. Okay. I have that markup. I was trying to figure out what that bottom golden zone was, but it's probably just
this right here.
Yeah.
Well, this right here was remember we got this bullish order block.
So 2 weeks ago. Okay.
Yeah. Let me delete that.
My bad. I was just trying to understand it. That's all. Because I marked up EA. So for you to bring it up today, that built my confidence. And then I didn't have it going that far. So I was just trying to compare notes.
You didn't have it coming this far down?
I have to go back and look at my charts, but I think this is more like what I have. I didn't have that bottom gold box that you had from 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so here's another thing, Kenya. When I marked up this golden zone, I included it down to the 78.6. For those of you.
Any particular reason why this time you went all the way down to the 78%?
Well, no, it's really not, but the 78.6 is a likely area, right? And here's why I say that. If you look at where we are, on this, I guess, on this chart with 2 weeks to go in the month, we have 2 weeks to go in December. So if this pulls back to the 78.6, let me throw this weekly fib. If this pulls back to the 78.6, we can expect it to push into the negative 27, right? Possibly even the negative 61, right? See that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can take this and superimpose it on the monthly chart, that pushes to the top of the order block, and maybe it pulls back a bit and we end the month. Then that next month, it pushes down right into the monthly order block before going up. I'm just trying to anticipate, what could happen. Now, all of this stuff, just because I put it on a chart in anticipation, doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But what I like to do is have it marked up. So if price just takes off and goes north, then I have an idea of what price is trying to achieve. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a kind of a weak yes, but I just want to have the markings on my chart on why the price is going somewhere. I don't like to trade pairs that don't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if we raise interest rates and all of a sudden the dollar is dropping, I'm not taking that trade because it doesn't make sense. I'm waiting until the next day because the next day is probably when the real move is going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So if price is just doing something that's out of character, I have no choice but to think that that's the market makers manipulating the market. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I gotcha. But even with this move, you don't really need to take it down to the 78% because you would have already made your 10%, just taking it to the 50.
That is correct.
And
I
so
need-
you just have additional trades kind of lined up for.
Well, yeah, maybe I take this trade and it goes to the 50, right? And maybe later on in the week, I switch accounts and I'm looking to catch it back up, going back up.
Yep. Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Do I have any other questions on EA? All right, let's talk EN because I think EN was the other one. I think Selena said this was tapping into an order block, Selena.
Yeah, it was one from 11/14/22
I don't see it.
on the weekly.
This one? That's not
Mm-mm.
11/14. This one?
No. Go to the
That's it. This
yeah,
is
that one. Mhm.
bruh. I would say this tapped in right here.
I mean, it tapped in, but it's still in that order block. Maybe I should have said it like that. And it's below the moving averages. So
Because
I'm
I
not seeing a
it
buy.
played off the moving average. That's what I would think. Did it tap the moving average?
Can you hide everything real quick, if you don't mind? Okay.
Look like a moving average. Tap. I still I I wouldn't trade, I wouldn't trade this pair.
All right.
Or here's my thought process. This could very well be going up, and I think it is, but it's just my personal bias. I know it doesn't line up with some of the things that I tell you, but
Couldn't it be selling down to the
well, listen, let me
okay.
So this is the move. This is the pullback. Right now, it pulled back past the 61.8. Now, there is an order block down here at the 78.6. So it could bounce and touch the 78.6 and continue going up. Or it could just continue going up. It could pull back and continue going up. We don't know. And this is one of the gray areas that happens when you trade, because everything about this chart, from the higher highs to the higher lows, to us breaking this high, pulling back, says that this is going higher, right? So when do you hop in to go higher? Most traders will tell you, if you're swing trading this, that Any pullback this week is a good time to enter this trade. You're entering this trade basically between the 61 and the 78. So if you're taking this trade to the upside, this is actually a pretty darn good entry. This is a 4.23% because you're expecting price to hit this negative 27 extension. So anywhere in here would be considered a good entry. Now, I know we all want sniper entries because we're all snipers. You know, we sniper qualified, and that's all we do is get sniper entries. But the truth of the matter is, any entry right here to the upside is probably a great entry. And this is where it's going to boil down to who you are as a trader and what you look for to enter trades as a trader, right? So I know that's not what anybody in here wants to hear, but if you're going to take this pair and you're going to trade this pair, your best bet is to sell this down. And if it keeps going, that's cool. And if it turns around, that's cool too, right? This is one of the reasons that I try to convince everybody to take the sell on these trades. You know, don't just wait for it to come down and buy up, because sometimes you're not going to get that buy up. It's just going to come down and it'll keep going down, right? Even though we have an order block right here. It doesn't matter which moving average it taps, right? A lot of times they'll tap both of them. And in this case, it tap one this week, it might pull back and tap the other next week and then pull back again. But the important thing to note is that it reacted at your moving average. So if I take a fib of this weekly candle, the golden zone is right here. The 78 is right here. So honestly, if you wanted to, this is about 100 pip stop, right? It turns this trade into a 13% trade, right? Once it pulls back to this level, you can enter it with a stop loss of 109 pips. And if it breaks it, then you know there's a high likelihood that it's going to come down here to the 78.6 of the bigger move. And if it goes up, then you got you a 13% trade, right? The problem is most of you guys aren't real swing traders, and you aren't going to hold this trade. So if you're going to take a trade like this, get in your demo, but you have to make notes. This is the important thing about journaling, right? Because you explain to yourself what you're looking for, why you took this entry, what you think, right? And this will either negatively reinforce your future trades or it will positively reinforce your future trades. Y'all understand what I'm saying here?
Yes.
The shade. All right. Hopefully I answered it, what everybody was asking. I don't understand what y'all talking about in the chat. Who's throwing shade or whatever. Okay. I think that was those two. Did you have this on your list, Lena?
Yes, sir, I did.
Yeah, okay. So this is another setup that I'm not too in love with. Because, well, a few reasons. So this is definitely a bullish order block. But there's an extreme amount of exhaustion right? You can see the rejection candles right here. You get 2 rejection candles in a row. That gives me pause, like I'm wondering why. So I can see we broke this high on the monthly. We pulled back to the area. And right now we're going higher. What I would like to see is for us to be able to push all the way up to this area. Maybe it won't happen this month. But the thing that kind of worries me here. Oh,
It looks like it tapped into the 50% of that inbound.
that's what I was looking at there, Ellie. But where is my GAN box at? Okay. Selena says she saw this during her analysis, y'all. She just didn't tell, she didn't share it with us. So, so if y'all noticed that it tapped into that imbalance, and that's where that rejection is happening. That's why I don't necessarily love this trade setup to keep going higher. Now, I'm not saying that that it won't go higher, but when I see stuff like this, it always makes me feel like this is a good place that the market can flip on you. Where we're saying we're looking at this as a buy, and the market just pushes down, right? Maybe there's other areas of interest on the bottom side of this market that needs to be addressed. I don't see them.
Todd, is it if you go down because there was a big pullback. Can you I can't see the
Right
there
here?
you go. Okay. Because on the did you have it on the daily or the weekly?
Monthly?
Yeah, okay. So it retested that initial break of structure, right? Came back, retested that break.
Right.
No, to the left. Like the push down, the big red candle.
Well, this push down?
It broke that order block that was next to the left of it.
Right.
Nope, the top a little above, right there. And then price pulled back and retested that area.
Correct.
And then it had a pull, and if you look at that monthly candle, the last monthly candle, this monthly candle, it pulled back. So if you go down to the smaller time, like maybe the 4-hour time frame, if it started breaking structure to the downside, then yes, I would say it's probably about to sell back down.
Right, but you would probably wait until it breaks this low, right?
You trying to be funny.
Well, I'm
No,
asking.
just
I'm asking. I know we trade.
Well, this is what I see. I see that it has not broken that high. So I would, once I got the break of that, okay, see where the current candle is? Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm tracking. I like this as a sell, but there are multiple reasons. Like on the weekly, we're going to sell it anyway because it's a order block, right? But I really like this to continue to sell. I would be biased for it to continue to sell, at least back down, to this level, I think.
Yeah. And how many pips is it from where current price is to that order block that's at the bottom right there? That's
you would
right.
expect it maybe to go up a little bit, back to these moving average. But it's plenty, like to this blue line, you got 132.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's plenty plenty there, you know.
Mm.
But this requires some personal analysis. It was basically my point, right?
Yeah.
Everybody is probably going to see this a little bit differently, or maybe we see it similarly, but this requires individuals to have personal biases and do their own analysis. Like if you don't know how to analyze from top down, then maybe you miss this imbalance tap in, right? If you don't understand structure, maybe you miss the break of structure here or the break of structure here. It broke structure to the top, it broke structure to the bottom. That's called chalk on some levels. Maybe it needs to come back up to this level before it falls. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to get a pullback first before it touches this level and falls. If you're looking at this as a chalk move from a higher time frame. My point is, we have to do our individual analysis on these pair, right? Don't just wait for me to tell you what I think it's going to do and then blow me up in the chat if it doesn't do exactly what I say it's going to do. So I think there are plenty of opportunities in this pair, right? I know that the new king raised the interest rates over there, Leandra. I don't think the market liked the rate hike though. I think the rate hike was a little it was looked at as not being enough. I think they liked the euro rate hike. I think they were both 50. Are you tracking that, Leandra? Like, was the rate hike 50 basis points? I think it was 50 for both. And one of them was looked at as a good rate hike, and the other one was looked at as not enough. For those of you who are not abreast, the interest rate, I mean, the inflation over there is still like double digits. I think isn't it still 10%? I think the inflation is still 10% in London. Oh, it's 11%. Yeah, that's yeah. I think they want to see higher rate hikes. So that's more of a case for this thing to reject, in my opinion. If you look at the daily here, all these relative equal highs, maybe we'll get a liquidity grab and a push down. All of that is in play. So just mind your P's and Q's if you're trading GA. Any questions on GA? All righty. Let's look at the Dixie. It's interesting. Okay. The Dixie. The Dixie is pushed down. It rejected the moving average / monthly order block. Got the rejection. Don't really know how high it's going up, but we can all look and see this huge imbalance here. There's a huge imbalance. So, maybe we'll get some action going back up. There is a order block here that we just left. Maybe it taps back into that order block. Maybe it retests the moving average before it falls. If you listen to the news has their own opinions on whether the dollar has seen its high or not. There are a lot of possibilities. We could get this right here, right? And get the double top. We can get a lower high here push down. There are all sorts of possibilities that none of us actually know. We can all speculate. But what we do see is a rejection candle at that monthly order block, and we are looking at price pushing back up. How far up it pushes is just a guess. So if you're going to take these trades, right? Euro USD is the most closely associated with that Dixie, with that dollar index. So if the dollar index goes up, this is going to go down. Okay. Let me repeat that. If the dollar index goes up, this is going to go down. It's a 60% mirror to that dollar index. So maybe we'll push down and test this moving average, right? So if you're taking this trade and you're selling it, you're probably going to get a decent sale. On this pair. It would be very hard to look for a retracement on this candle because it retraced the opposite direction. So if you're looking for a pullback, you're looking for a pullback to this area. Now, this is a doji candle. I don't like doing retracements on doji candles. So if you go down to this daily candle and you fib this one candle, and we can't really do it because there's no wick. So I'm just going to assume that this is going to push down to this first. There's no wick to this, and you can't fib a move until it starts pulling back, right? So I'm just going to assume that the price is going to push down here. If it pushes down here, you can see my golden zone is similar to the one that I did for that weekly candle. Does that make sense? I don't want to confuse you guys. On the weekly candle, there's definitely a wick on this weekly candle. So I fibbed the weekly candle and got the golden zone. Now, because this weekly candle is a doji, you're much better served if you drop down so you can see each individual candle. So if you look at the candle, this is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So price started way down here. It pushed up. Then once some interest rates came out, it pushed all the way back down here. And it was still going down at the close of the day. So there's no wick on this candle. So what we think is that it'll probably push down to this moving average, then retrace to the same area that we fibbed on that weekly candle. Everybody tracking? So if you measure from here to your zone, it's about 58 pips, right? So if you take this trade, maybe it goes higher, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it turns right here. You need to be able to follow this trade back down, right? And you think it's going down because we know the dollar is going to get stronger. That means the euro is going to get weaker versus the dollar. Everybody tracking? I'm personally not looking to take this trade because you have to get down into the weeds. You have to follow the trade, right? You got to get on that 4-hour time frame, and you got to trade based on which side of this moving average the price is on, right? So right now it's to the downside, you're trading it down. Once it turns, then you trade it up. Then once it turns, you'll trade it down. All righty. Did you say Euro Chef, Selena?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Let's do it, cool.
You so stupid.
All righty, buddies. So if you notice where we are right here, there, bud. We've tapped into this first moving average. We got a little rejection there, buddy. I'm expecting for price to continue to push up until we break these moving averages. This has been a little bit of a bumpy ride there, but if you looked up in time frame, then you understand what's going on. You understand we're getting a little rejection, a little turbulence. Again, if we fib this candle, first I'm going to measure this move right here. 87 pips all last week, guys.
I know it's not one of your favorite pairs, but it still had the bullish order block.
I understand. You know, I just asked one question. Why? So.
Hey, you say 70 pips can do 10% if you do it right.
Oh, that's me, but you know, a lot of people can't get 10% in 200 pips. So
True.
I would just
Me
ask
as well.
why this pair, you know? And this might be the pair that runs off this week because I said why, but still.
Exactly, because it got a few, well, I don't think it's ever ran, but hey, who knows? It could be the week.
Yeah, if you look at these weekly candles, but they're not giving a lot of life. But you know, maybe this week will be different. So this is how I look at this. If price just pulls into the golden zone, you have about a 13 pip stop loss, a little less than that on the weekly chart. That's crazy. So if you drop down to a lower time frame, you'll probably get a lot better risk to reward. But if price goes to this negative 27, that's only 68 pips. But it's a 1 to 5 risk to reward. So if you get 2 positions in this trade and you just hold it until it goes these 68 pips, you made your 10% for the week. We're assuming that price turns around right here in the golden zone and pushes up. Is everybody tracking? It's a lot of wicks on this pair. So, you know, if you get stopped out, then you can probably get back in. This is where hedging, you know, for me, pays its dividends because it's a lot of wicks. You know, maybe maybe you don't get into this trade until you're sure it's pulling back. But yeah, it's not one of my favorites, but that's what I think that we're probably going to get out of that pair. Let's look at AU. Ooh, AU is giving life, y'all.
You real extra today.
So AU was a great sale based on those interest rates. And if you didn't get in when it was given life on the interest rate run, you can get in now when it pulls back. So if we fib this candle, we got the golden zone somewhere up in here. $78.6 is a little bit higher. So if you take this trade just to the zone, it's going to give you right at 100 pips. To me, this is a good trade to look at for your retracement strategy too. This would be one of my one of my favorites at the EA and AU. Because this retracement, you could possibly get your 10% or your 8% or your 7%, right? You can get whatever your weekly percentage on the push down, on the buy up, and then on the sell down. It's all going to depend on how strong that dollar is starting off the week, though. So maybe it pushes down further and then goes up. I don't know. Again, it's going to require you to watch it and hop in when you see it buying back up, right? I mean, it's in a weekly order block down here. So, a rejection is natural. Maybe it rejects all the way back to this weekly order block here, which we expect, and then a sell down will be awesome. Is everybody tracking? When you get your target down here, there's a huge imbalance. This is the -27 where you can pretty much expect price to make it to once it hits and starts pushing back down. If it's a stronger push, it might come all the way down to the -61. Any questions over that, Jank?
That 61 would be great because that's where the imbalance is.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll eventually get it. I just don't know if it'll be this week.
No, but this reminds me of that other pair that we were talking about a few days ago or last week, where it had that one order block. I think it was a bullish order block, and it bought up for like weeks. Maybe AU, if there's no crazy news, will do the same. Just sell for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that would be awesome. This is a pair that me and Sean talked about last week. Sean, I don't know if you remember talking about this pair, but it was an imbalance here that we stopped at. Price pushed up a wee bit higher than sold. Did you have this as a bearish order block, Sonny?
Yes, I did.
I think it's not quite a bearish order block, but I do feel like it's going to sell. So it's not a bearish order block on the weekly. It's definitely a bearish order block on a daily.
And I think then this one retraced to the 7. I think this was one we were looking at last week too. Or was that just on the 5 o'clock call? Because I was like, this is about to sell.
I don't know, but
Kim, y'all remember, Felicia? Wasn't this? No, maybe just.
I know.
Yeah, it was this one.
I know me and Shaw talked about this.
It was 18.
And
It
I
was,
had this
okay.
line at this imbalance. I said, man, price stopped right at the imbalance. So yeah, I think we can get a push down to the moving average. There's an imbalance here too. So even if it just pulls back and sells, I think you have decent range. I mean, this doesn't get the pip count that some of the other ones get, but if you can get 130 pips per week, you're winning. Like if you look at these other weekly candles, after this pull back this week, they got 186 pips. This week was 174 pips. Last week, 171 pips. I mean, man, you get 170 pips every week. Brah. You're gonna eat. You're gonna eat with 170 pips. All right. So if you look at overall, what's going on with this pair? All right, you got the market pushed down. Got to pull back to the 78.6. So if it pushes down and breaks this low on the long term, that would be the -27 would be down here. I don't know that it's going to do that, but if you just play the supply and demand game, for those of you who trade supply and demand, you know, which all two of you. There's a monthly order block right here. What is this? This is supply right here, Lil Kim.
Where you put it? Huh? Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, that's supply. That's supply. Sorry.
Okay, we tapped into supply, and this is the demand zone down yonder. So if you just play the supply and demand, and it comes and taps into your demand zone, you know, I mean, there's a huge imbalance in here anyway, so we can probably expect this to at least push back down yonder to this zone.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
I mean, it's been pretty decent about that. So that is a decent setup. It's been given about 170 pips per week. And if you haven't been capturing 170 pips per week, you might want to start trading that joint. I think that's all for our weekly order blocks. Do I have any questions over them weekly order blocks?
I have a question, Todd. And I
Sure.
think I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, but now I'm looking at it from the higher time frame, and I just want to know what your thoughts are. Can you go to AU? And you know how I asked about like a bearish order block and a bullish move?
I guess kind of.
Okay, so this bearish order block on the daily and this push up would be the bullish move. We're looking to sell this.
When it pushes back up, you mean? Yeah, we are definitely looking to sell this.
Okay.
Are you not looking to sell it?
No, I'm looking to sell it.
No.
I don't know. I guess I was just thinking back to that conversation about being mindful of the order blocks and what the move is. And maybe because we were probably on a 4-hour time frame, I believe.
No, but I think this is a solid okay. So you see this order block?
Mm-hmm.
I would anticipate at some point that price will revisit this zone right here. Right. Let me delete this yellow marking. I know we just marked this up, but I'm going to delete it because I think it's important. This is a zone, right? We just talked about supply and demand. You can look at the rest of these zones down here as price pushing down, going up. Now, if we just look at this and we think about the market structure series by Pips of Persia on this daily chart, after we broke these highs, right? We broke the high. We came right down and broke the lows, right? So this gives us reason to believe that after a retracement, price is going to keep pushing down. Now, it still needs, I guess it did break this low, or its equal lows. So it would have to push up and break this low and maybe break this low. It needs to break the lows as it goes down. But the only thing we have to go off of is we came off of a high. It didn't respect this order block. It went right through it. Now, we know this is based off of a news event, but it still broke this low, which tells us that price wants to go lower. So going off of that, we're waiting for a retest of this area, right? If it goes higher, cool, because there's an imbalance in here. But we at least want to retest the low that it broke before it pushes down. So as a trader, you know, and this is what I mean by we all have our personal requirements and criteria, right? This is what I feel like should happen, right? Now, Here's where the difference comes in. Selena might want her retracement to come here. I'm not getting in until price hits here, period. I'm a gambler, so I want my retracement just to touch the bottom of this. I might get in right here and go in the drawdown if it pushes higher. Cool. Everybody expects price to come down here. Maybe you're the type of person that wants it to at least fill half of the imbalance before you get in. So maybe I get in first, I go and draw down, you get in a second, you go and draw down, and it picks Selena up, and then we all go in profit. All of those entry criteria are correct because they're based on our personal trading style. The problem that you run into is somebody will be lazy and they don't want to do their own analysis, and they will enter off of my entry criteria down here. And they'll want to use a 10 pip stop loss, and then price will run right through their position to Selena's position, and then it'll sell, and then they'll be mad. Well, look in the mirror, buddy, because you have to do your own analysis. You have to enter based off your criteria. You know, the big thing for me as a trader is I want to enter here because this is where price is going to come to. Price ain't guaranteed to go to Felicia's entry or Selena's entry. So I want to be a part of the move going down. I can always get me a re-entry, a better entry on a lower time frame as price pushes down. Or I can, what is that called? I can do a martingale strategy and get me a second entry up here. You as a trader have to figure out your strategy, the way you're going to trade, right? The way you're going to play this game. And I can't reiterate that enough because it's super important to you as a trader that you trade your own style. Your entry is not always going to be my entry. You know, most of the time, it's not going to be my entry. You know, but what I can guarantee you is at the end of the week, I'm coming out with my 10%. And you need to be the same way as a trader. At the end of the week, you're coming out with your percentage based off of your entry criteria. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Todd, and if I can just add a little something.
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
this, like, I think this, did you say yes, ma'am?
Sure.
Oh, okay. I think this is something that I just do a little differently than you.
Okay.
But I feel like we're always on the same page. But if you look at if you zoom in,
Yeah.
or zoom out. And zoom out some more. Okay, yeah. So price is bearish, right?
Right.
And if you're looking at that daily, price tapped into that order block. So because it's bearish, you know, I'm always looking for the sells because it tapped into that order block and dropped the way that it did.
Right.
I'm definitely, it's probably going to tap into that order block of that expand. Well, let me, yeah, I think it's going to pull back a little bit where your moving averages are. I think it's going to pull back there and then drop to and keep dropping probably right there, which is where the order block, there's a break of structure, and before it moves back up to that order block that's at the top and then drop some more. Like that's where I would be expecting a sell. And like you said, unless something happens with news, like that would be based off of market structure and price action. That's where I would say it would start selling some more.
Right. I don't have a problem with any of that, you know, because the move that I'm looking for is from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have plenty of other time to to further see what it's doing. But I mean, you're exactly right. You go up to these higher time frames, the higher time frames tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, which means you see that this was just a pullback to the moving average.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I wouldn't debate that at all. Like, you know, I anticipated it to sell down anyway. It just so happened that the interest rate move happened at the same time the price got back to the moving average. What are the chances? You know, like all of this stuff kind of goes hand in hand. And if you're looking up at the higher time frames, most of the time you'll find yourself on the right side of the move. Even if you're not precise in your entry, you know, like if you look at this weekly order block, it's a weekly order block. It's going to go back up somewhere into the order block and it's going to push down. Now you have your moving averages on the weekly. There's an imbalance in here. It could push right down to this imbalance, like you were saying. So if it comes here and pushes down to the imbalance, that's still 200 pips. You know, I mean, it's a beautiful move. And like you say, that's when it's going to come back up and maybe push down further. Maybe it pushes into this zone and bounces up, or maybe it busts through this zone. All that is to be determined, but these are big pip moves that we're all able to take advantage of based on your own entry criteria. And I mean, that's the power in having your own, like you trade, you know, you have different entry criteria, Kim, you have different ways to see the market, but at the end of the day, it's the same analysis. Price is going to sell. Where you get in, where you get into the trade is on the individual trader, right? And I mean, you might get a lot better entry than me. Selena might get a lot better entry than me. I just want to get my percentage out of this move. I've never claimed to grab every pip that's available to me. I just want to get my payment out of the pip move. Hopefully you guys kind of understand where I'm going with that.
Yep.
All right. Do I have any questions over anything we talked about thus far? All right. Well, that was short and sweet. No, we can't look at US 30. Ain't nothing going on there. Nothing to see here, guys. All right. US oil. All right. I did want to look at this, and I know this is not a weekly order block, but what I did notice, and I don't know if you guys ever pay attention to this, is a lot of the CAD pair like had huge drop-off potential, right? I'm looking at this. This is almost a bearish order block. I don't know if you saw this, Selena, but you had this huge drop. So it makes me want to go and look at what's going on with oil, right? And now I see that we have this bearish order block and price tapped in last week. So it explains why, in my opinion, that we could get good moves. Now this goes directly against a sell-off in AUD/CAD, right? So maybe that's the reason why we didn't get a complete bearish order block. Maybe when you buy this, maybe what you're going to get is a green candle that pushes up higher, right? Past that monthly order block. We don't know. Like, I don't know if there's any oil news. You know, I didn't really look at that, but I did notice that oil is poised for a drop. And if oil drops, then the CAD should get weaker. If the CAD gets weaker, these pair with CAD in it, EuroCAD, GCAD maybe, that could affect what we think we see in these prices. So just, you know, a heads up, if you're trading the CAD, then maybe you're looking at taking some of these pair versus the CAD to the upside. Just a thought. Okay, can you share that, Leandra? Leandra got cold feet, guys. All right. So anyway, just a heads up, something to be on the lookout for you CAD traders, right? Gold and silver are at like monthly levels. They're showing signs of rejection at key levels. Maybe we're going to get a push down to retest this area, right? Maybe you can take advantage of some of those moves as the dollar gets stronger. A lot of money to be made, a lot of opportunity. Even if you're trading in a demo, might be time for you to see how you could take advantage of these outside of the box moves that aren't necessarily order block moves. I don't know if you indice traders noticed the liquidity grabs on the indices. It happened. It was kind of funny to me that we all talked about the US 30 against our own free will last week when Leandro wanted to talk US 30. Price shoots up, grabs the liquidity, immediately pushes down. We had talked about chalk on the S&P 500. It didn't line up on the US 30. But, when ICT teaches, he likes to look at all three of the indices because sometimes you get an outlier. And last week it was the US 30. This was a clear chalk where we broke the high, we broke the low, we traded back into this last up candle, and we immediately fell off. So chalk lined up on this index. It didn't show on the US 30, but we talked about it. And lo and behold, it happened, right? So you have to do your analysis on all three of the charts if you're just going to trade those indices. And last week was a great example of why you would want to look at all three of the indices, because once it happens, it's going to happen, in all three of them. They're all going to mirror each other for the most part. NASDAQ might trade a little bit differently, but if the dollar goes up, it's going to sell too. So there's a liquidity grab on all the indices. This one tapped into a weekly order block, and it didn't fall as far off as the other two, but it might continue to fall next week. Somebody asked me, and I think it was Malik, about the JPYs selling or going up. If the dollar rallies like that, most of the time we're cool. But if it rallies too much and the indices sell off, it creates a risk on environment. Whenever there's risk and people are people are uncertain, they're going to sell those JPYs. So that's why you started seeing the JPY start to tank. There is weakness in the US economy. If anytime you get news about the US economy being weak or showing signs of weakness, you can sell the JPYs. I can't stress that enough. It should be kind of a go-to. You need to go to the charts and look and see if sales are setting up on those JPY pairs. Whenever the news, the talking heads on the news start saying stuff like, there's fear, there's uncertainty, there's risk. Whenever you start hearing that kind of talk, look at your JPY pairs. The favorite one for me to sell is GJ. whenever they start talking like that, because it normally is the most volatile one to sell. But, you know, hopefully you're getting accustomed to, you know, what happens when different news events come out, you know, and different things are talked about in the news. I mean, that's one of the benefits of the group is, you know, we have a decent understanding of the fundamentals and how they may impact the market. Do you have any questions? All righty, about an hour and 20 minutes. Time to end this joint. Hopefully everybody has success this week in the markets.